Broadcasting on Star Worldwide Networks. It's Two Small Biz Guys. And now, here are your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
Welcome to Two Small Biz Guys. I'm Zen today.
And I'm Ray today. Sometimes we're different on every day. You
right, and we're your advisorologists. Today we're going to be talking about the 80-20 rule and what that means. And it's different than the 80-20 rules you may be familiar with.
No, it's not. What are we familiar with?
Well, this one is a management 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
80-20 rule, usually is the 20% of your stuff is done by 80% of your people.
Oh, that's a standard 80-20 rule. It's,
well, this one's a bit different, though.
No, it's not. Well, it's used in a different format.
Well, let's talk about where it came from originally. It came from a 19th century economist, Vilfredo Pareto,
right,
in the mid 20th century.
Pareto's theory of maldistribution. So
in the distribution, then there was another guru named Joseph Juran who applied Pareto's concepts to business. So what did he do?
Well, he applied it to quality control, and basically saying that there is a variety of areas where you can have a problem, but he said, I'm going to look at the vital few. But basically...
Is that kind of the same thing that Deming did?
Well, I don't know. Deming basically was a quality control guru, and he probably did the same type of activity. But primarily, the 80-20 rule is that 20% of your activity will yield 80% of your results. So normally in sales, they talk about 20% of your customers give you 80% of your business. 20% of the products that you sell will give you 80% of the sales of products and so forth. So it's kind of just a rule of thumb, but it's primarily the 80-20 rule.
So when you find that 20%, then it's two thumbs up.
That's right.
Just a rule of thumb.
Well, two thumbs up and a big handshake or whatever, slap of hands. But the premise is...
Those are bumps now, I think. Is
right,
what they
bumps. Okay, But the premise with the 80-20 rules, when you know that 20%, and when you think about the 20%, that's the area that you really want to work in, and that's the area you want to focus. So the 80-20 rule is really nothing more than a means of focusing. And you find in small business that people are busy doing all the time. They're busy, and they don't necessarily think about where they should focus. They think that just doing is great.
But when you're thinking about the doing, there's records, there's results that you can monitor things, and oftentimes you'll see a spike in a certain area, and that's part of that 20% you're talking about, right?
Well, the spike might be part of the 20%, but the aspect is if you want to get more effective, get better results, the question is you want to put your emphasis and your work and your activity in that 20% area. So it becomes a question of you want to work in that area, and a lot of people think that I want to be efficient. And the question is efficiency really effectiveness? So in business...
The two don't always go together.
No, well, yes, they do go together. But the number one key in business or actually in life is being effective. So if you're busy doing, you're not effective.
But if you're efficient and you're not doing the things that are effective for your business, then the two of them don't really match up, right?
Well, that's right. That's right. I told a person one time I'm very efficient. And this person said to me, but are you effective? And I had to stop and think about it. Because you could, for example, in manufacturing, you could be very very efficient manufacturing scrap. So are you really effective? No. Or if your process really isn't the right process, are you really being effective? So I think that the aspect here is you want to think about what is the 20% of your activities and what are you really getting out of it? So when you're in a business environment, if you're in sales, you want to look at, say, what customers give me the 20% of my business, and how can I find other people like them? Or if you are like in selling insurance, if I'm selling life insurance or whatever kind of insurance, you probably have 20% of your people who are giving you your business, and you say, okay, can I find other people like them? Who are their contacts that can springboard off of.
Right, and that's where you develop your understanding for your demographics of your customer base, and you really can drill down from that point to broaden your numbers through.
Okay, but you use the term understanding, but the aspect is that people, unless you really think about it, you don't drill down to look for that 20%. You don't take the time to identify what are the 20%, what are the common characteristics
Right.
of
These
them.
are practices that you have to develop in your business to discipline yourself to do it, right?
Right. Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to think about it.
Right.
If you don't think about it, you don't do it. So, yes, you're right. It is a discipline.
So it's like setting priorities.
Well, the 20% basically is setting the priorities on the premise that the 20% area is that the area that you want to work in, and these are therefore the priority areas. So we're not going to be talking about customers that much or sales, but one aspect is that.
But we're going to do it for a minute anyway.
Yeah, we're going to do it for a minute, right? Maybe 2 minutes.
Okay.
Depends how much time we have. But part of the premise is that a lot of people think they want to treat all customers alike. I want to take care of all my customers and we really treat them fairly and equally. And the premise is that really the right thing to do? Because that really means that your good customers don't get the better service.
Well, there's the difference between being efficient and effective. You can be efficient in treating all your customers the same way, but I'll guarantee you that's not effective.
That's right. You're absolutely correct, because what happens is that you're better. You have a level of say, efficiency, whatever, for all customers, but the customers that you really want to have exemplary service, that was a hard word to say, exemplary.
You got it out.
I got it out, though.
Exemplary.
Thank you. Exemplary.
Yeah, I'll help you.
My wordsmith. So when you have people that you want to give exemplary service, you have to really treat them a little bit differently. So the aspect is on the 80-20 rule, you want to identify those areas, those activities, whether it be sales, production, where you work, what you do. You want to put your emphasis in those areas. And so therefore, as you say, set the priority, think about it.
Now, there's two sets of priorities in how we approach this, and in my opinion, maybe you'll agree or disagree. Really doesn't matter. I'm going to put it out anyway. There's a personal and a professional side, right? There's the business-oriented piece, and then there's the personal piece, the self-mastery side of it, as Sengwe would say.
Yeah, well, okay, you could say that, because if you were...
I did.
I just heard it, yes.
Right.
You want to repeat it? I mean, I just heard it. Well, on the business side, it's probably easier to do because you thinking about it, and you can measure, if you create
You've
goals...
got metrics, and you're able to measure it, right?
That's if you create the metrics, you
Smart
can measure
goals.
it. On the personal side, you don't necessarily have metrics. So the aspect is and there you're really talking, we're going to talk about this in our next show, is really in the strength area, what you really have strengths, what you enjoy doing. So on the personal side, I don't think people really think about the 80-20 rule so much unless they think about their enjoyment. So what gives you satisfaction? So I know for you, you like to hit the golf ball. So that probably...
I do.
So therefore you
Sometimes it goes straight.
Sometimes, but look, the more times it goes crooked, the more strokes
If I
you
wanted
can
to go
take.
crooked, then that's okay.
No,
But if I don't, then...
No, you want to hit the golf ball. You don't care whether it goes straight or hooks or whatever it is. I told you that the best...
Just got to make contact, huh?
No, that's one thing, yeah. But I have a theory.
Advance the ball.
See, I have a theory that bowling alley proprietors and golf course proprietors have fooled the public. See, the public thinks that, like in bowling, if I get strikes, it's great. Well, I paid for 2 turns, and I want to get both turns. And then the same thing in golf. I'm playing for my greens fee, so therefore the more strokes I take, the better it is. So you're off that course real quick. You don't really get a chance to look at it and enjoy it. So going back to the 80-20 rule, since we got...
Score doesn't matter to Ray.
That's right. Score doesn't matter because, I keep score one and another and another. That's the easiest way.
Right. Yeah, he tries to shoot his age.
That's right. That's
on the
right.
front 9.
Oh, no, in total. But no, I don't want to do that because I'd be better than you.
Yeah, you would.
But the aspect is you want to work on those areas which really give you the results, which give you, where there's a leverage. And one of the terms in business is getting leverage. And when you work on the 20% that gives you the 80% results, that's really what I call leverage.
Now, perhaps we can get into this a little bit more later, but right now we're talking, let's put it back on the personal side of things. When you're doing the right things in your business or as an entrepreneur, okay, are you sure you're in the right place, and what suits you best, and how do you determine that within that 80-20 rule?
Well, the first criteria you have to determine is whether you are in the right area, because you could be working on the 80-20 rule but not in the right area. So therefore your results could still be mediocre.
Well, you
or
mentioned
average.
earlier that the personal side of thing is more subjective, where the professional side, the business side, has more metrics to measure things by. So then with the passion level, the excitement, the joy, those are indicators, I would think, not necessarily specific metrics, but factors that you would notice as far as your own sense of where you're at and how you're doing.
Yeah, in the business area, yes, you get all those if you're in the right area. But if the results aren't really what you expect, in other words, if you have certain income levels you want to achieve or a certain lifestyle you want to achieve, and you're not achieving that, you may not have the passion. You may have a letdown just because you aren't achieving. So the 80-20 rule basically says if I'm in a business I enjoy, I'm in a marketplace I understand, I want to work in those areas that are going to give me the results, because the results will give me the passion and just self-feeding.
Okay, so as we're looking at this, we're looking at several steps along the way to understand and apply the 80-20 principle. So the first step would be something like use your most creative 20%. Right?
Yes.
So in using that, then we will eventually come back around to taking that as a launch pad into our next segment.
Right.
How's that?
It sounds pretty
All
cool.
right. So we're going to be back with you in just a moment. We're Two Small Biz Guys. I'm Zen, and
Ray, and you've heard only 20%.
that's 25. And we'll be back with you shortly. Thanks for listening.
Two Small Biz Guys with Zen and Ray. We'll be back after this.
Hi, I'm Zen Benefiel with Be the Dream Transformational Life Coaching and Professional Services at BeTheDream.com. Our mission? To provide leading-edge transformational personal and business development services. Our services include life coaching, enterprise coaching, partnering facilitations, and possibilities coagulating. We've been in business since 1988. In times of massive change, you need someone who can help you adjust and transform. I can meet that challenge with you, offering a stellar skill set from serving individuals and companies for over 20 years. I invite you to peruse BeTheDream.com and put me to the test. Fill out the coaching assessment survey and give me a call. The first call is free, and you can find out if I'm what you are looking for in a coach, consultant, or service provider. Call 480-633-7179. Let your dreams mold future realities. BeTheDream.com.
Business owners want to call their own shots, make appropriate income, and control their destiny. Our passion is to help you achieve your goals. A Pro Peer Advisory Board is just the thing. It's a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive owners facilitated by a pro who has walked in your shoes. He's your mentor and tormentor, moving you ahead. When you have issues or opportunities keeping you awake, where do you get help? Pro Boards give support and non-biased feedback from your peers. To sample a free Pro President's Board meeting, email ray@propres.com. There's no commitment or charge. Email ray@propres.com. You're listening to Two Small Biz Guys. Now, back to your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
And welcome back to Two Small Biz Guys with Ray and Zen. We're here to delight, excite, and
delight.
and invite
No, delight, excite, and invite. Who are we going to invite? That sounds exciting.
everybody.
That sounds like, oh, wow.
This is cool stuff. We
we need a bigger studio.
We've got a new product, and our market is everybody.
Yeah, we need a bigger studio.
Right. That's surely not the 80-20 rule,
No,
which
that-
is what we were talking about earlier. And back to the 80-20 rule.
I'm going to have to slap your hand for that statement.
Oh, boy. So, well, I hope that's all you slap. The sales activity with the 80-20 principle, how does that reflect in, so it's 20% of your sales effort produces 80% of the results?
Basically, but it's 20% of your customers create 80% of the results. So
So that's the next step of that.
Okay. Well, the question
Twofold.
is,
You're going to slap the other hand now?
no, but the aspect is if 20% of your activity creates 80% of the results, the question is how can you take that 20% people, contacts, type of customer, and work on that in the other type of your time. So therefore you're going to get leverage and get better sales results.
Right.
So otherwise what happens is you're just doing. So you say, I'll take any order. And you get to a point where you say, okay, I have to qualify customers more. I want a certain type of customer. At the meeting the other day was very interesting. A fellow who does pool repair and installation.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about the aspect that he gets people and they call him up and they want him to come out and give them a quote on their pool. So he's a small operation, so he only has so much time. So he has to really pre-qualify these people as to the ones he has the most success with.
So this is for refurbishing or refinishing?
Right. This is right, refurbishing, refinishing pools.
Okay.
So he has to really say, okay, on the phone, he has to qualify them. Otherwise, he's going to be doing a lot of quotes, a lot of running around, and it's not going to really be that productive.
Doesn't have the time to do the business.
Yeah,
right.
he's doing the business, but he's not doing the right business. He's busy. So he has to find a way and say, okay, my customer is a certain type of customer that has maybe a certain income level. Again, we talked about what is the definition of your customer.
Right.
How much are they willing to pay? And when he might on the phone, he might say, well, this job is going to cost, from the way you describe it, between $20,000 to $25,000.
And then shut up and see what they say.
Is that in your budget? Right. And if they say, no, I'm looking for something, I can't afford that, or I'm looking for something less, no, he doesn't have to bother making the quotation. He's doing a pre-qualification.
Right.
Okay, so what he's done here is said, my customers, the ones I have, the 20% that give me the most results, this is the area that they live in, this is the area that they work in, and this is the type of customer I want. So therefore I'm going to pre-qualify people so I just don't spin my wheels. So that's kind of an example of an 80-20 rule.
And every business has got that. Each person, each organization has to specify what those details are, and they're there. You just have to dig in and find them.
Yeah, and you also have
recognize what they are.
Okay, but the other aspect is you have to be willing to say no. And so in other words, but you have to...
Really?
It's not the word K-N-O-W. You have to N-O, because therefore you have to say no to certain people because they're going to take you off into that area where you don't get the results.
That's the toughest thing for a business owner who needs sales to do is to say no to a potential customer.
That's true, but it's also true for people in doing any enterprise to say no. They take on things because they don't want to have conflict.
We're raised to be people pleasers.
Right. So you have to have a certain amount of discipline to do the 80-20 rule. And
some say we're nothing but a codependent society.
Oh, who are you codependent on? That's going to be a good question.
Right. I would think that when you're collaborative and you're working at a cooperative, and I think collaboration is a key word for the new millennium, you're actually moving beyond that. You're becoming interdependent, not necessarily independent or codependent, but you're depending on each other.
Right. Well, when you get a team activity, there's a question also on the team activity. The team has to decide what's going to give them that results.
Well, you're talking the 80-20 rule, too. Here's another aspect of that. When you're focused on the 20% of your business that produces the most, then you've got all kinds of other things that you can either outsource or hire others to do or offload it somehow so that you're not spending your time on that isn't effective.
Yeah, you got a star in your chart for that. You got a smiley face for that one. I mean, that's very good.
I'll tip my hat.
Yeah, but the other aspect is when you're selling a product or service, you have to think about what product or service that you provide. In other words, when you have a product line, we'll say you have 100 SKUs. Out of those 100 SKUs, in theory, 20% will give you the most profitability in general.
Right.
So the items that you really want to sell are the items that have the highest profitability. So when you look at your marketing plan or your sales activity, those are the items that you want to concentrate on. Those are the items you want to highlight so that you can get the maximum return.
So it's like, step number 2, right? You spawn and mutate great ideas. The great ideas come from accessing those 20% of your products, services, or whatever that provide those greatest margins, and then building upon those, or creating new products or services out of those that might even take you to the next level.
Another star in your chart. Whoa. And another smiley
Sometimes I pay
face.
attention.
Oh, you're really chugging along.
Yeah.
But you're right.
At least I don't go into debt.
One never knows. But the aspect is that when you have these product or services, you have to think about really what is your sweet spot.
Right, and there's certain things that you need to take a look at in these areas. It's one whose essential nature has already been proven to be successful. Okay, it's
Right.
one that's superior to other versions. These are the things that you do to build. It's one that no one else is pursuing in your precise form. It's one that's superior in cost structure to similar ideas, and it one's that fits your 20% spike. So these are the things that we're referring to the step 2 in this process, right?
That's
so
right.
It builds your business to the next level when you pay attention and are effective at following these steps.
Yeah, well, I think the steps are kind of natural if you really follow step 1. And step 1 is saying, I want to really use the 80-20 rule, and I'm going to really think about it, because it takes a discipline, a thinking process to really say, I want to do it.
Yeah, and applying that.
Because it's so easy just to get caught in the mix. Now, we do have an 80-20 worksheet that you can just go to our website and get.
To one of our websites anyway. You can access it through Two Small Biz Guys. It's the website's actually practicalbizu.com, and that's practical, just like it's spelled, at BIZU, the letter U.com.
So you go there and you can get a free worksheet on the 80-20 rule that possibly
You
will
get
help.
several of them, but that's one of them.
But that's one of them. But we're talking about the 80-20 rule today, so that's one that you can go in and really get some help and make them think about how to use this tool. So it's a premise that you want to get involved with. So we were talking about product, and we were talking about development. We were talking about the aspect of where do you put your marketing dollars?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you put your investment dollars? You want to put them into, again, the 20%
that's
items.
step 3. That's find the vital few profit sources, right? And those are where you want to invest your time and energy in.
Right. Both energy, money, your key personnel. You want to put your best people to develop the product or service or do those areas that are going to give you the best results. So again, it comes back to identifying what is that 20%.
Mm-hmm. And it goes back to that one thing in some in some perspectives, right? So, and there's several ways that you can do that. It's think small, focus on one promising market segment. Then you can also think big by combining more than one product or technology, or by inventing a new marketing concept. You can think upmarket, seeking opportunities to serve upscale customers. Think mass market by making your product simpler, cheaper, and higher volume, right? So then there's another, it's pursue value innovation by providing more or less to a defined market segment. Then you use direct distribution channels that don't require expensive real estate or site inventory and personal service. Then you focus on activities that have a higher value to cost ratio.
And I think that last one is really the key.
I do too.
Because you want to sell those items which have the lowest cost and the highest selling price. That gives you the best leverage and return.
And then you can also, in the process, evaluate your employees.
Evaluate and meditate and cogitate.
In order to do that, you've got to retain, motivate, and reward only the most productive and creative ones. So we're going to talk more about that in just a moment. And don't assume that the highest paid and best educated are always the most productive. So with that, we're going to break for commercial, and we'll be back with you to talk more about the 80-20 rule in just a moment. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate that. Visit our website, practicalbizu.com, download the worksheets, and enjoy the results you'll get from them. We'll be right back with you.
Two Small Biz Guys with Zen and Ray. We'll be back after this. Business owners want to call their own shots, make appropriate income, and control their destiny. Our passion is to help you achieve your goals. A Pro-Peer Advisory Board is just the thing. It's a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive owners facilitated by a pro who has walked in your shoes. He's your mentor and tormentor, moving you ahead. When you have issues or opportunities keeping you awake, where do you get help? Pro boards give support and non-biased feedback from your peers. To sample a free Pro President's Board meeting, email ray@propres.com. There's no commitment or charge. Email ray@propres.com.
Are you a small business owner looking for education and information and don't have time for school? Is there an area of your business you'd like to know more about but aren't sure where to go or who to ask? Practical Biz U is an online repository of small business courses now available to you on the web. There are single class options, bundles for specific areas, and monthly memberships for ongoing learning opportunities. Go to practicalbizu.com and sign up today.
You're listening to Two Small Biz Guys. Now, back to your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
Welcome back to Two Small Biz Guys with Ray and Zen, and we're going to talk more about the 80-20 rule with this massive excitement, and we're going to enlist Einstein.
Darn right.
Everybody knows who Einstein is,
relative.
right?
It's relative. That's why we're going to bring him into this discussion.
Speaking of theories of relativity, we're going to talk about how his theory applies to the business model. Now,
this is really getting very scientific.
yeah, we're going to get into quantum science here in just a moment, and spooky action at a distance.
Oh, that spooky action.
Spooky action at a distance.
Is spooky action.
That's what he called quantum entanglement.
Wait,
but that's beyond this show.
Is spooky action?
Well, I don't know.
Is that a name of a person? Spooky action?
No, Spooky's a song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. Don't you remember that one? Spooky?
No.
Oh, all right.
Before my time or after my time?
During, but I think you were off doing other things. Speaking of dimensions, the theory of relativity applied not to just 3, but 4. And the fourth dimension is time. So time becomes relevant in the 80-20 rule when you're looking at where to spend your time to get the most effective and productive results.
Right.
Right. So there's 2 steps to ensure you use time most effectively. One's to compress the delivery time to your customers. Now, what's that mean? What's entailed in that?
Well, basically, that reference is shorting delivery time. For example, they came out with the eyeglasses, and they say you got your glasses in just about 1 hour.
Right.
The pizza, basically, when that now I haven't seen
Half hour, it's free.
If my daughter, for example, used to came out with you get a pizza in 1 hour. If you didn't get there in time, it was free. So my daughter, when she went to college, she would pick the most snowiest nights where the weather is worse to always order a pizza, because she had a probability she might get a free pizza. I didn't raise dumb kids. She was a smart kid.
Work the system.
But the aspect is...
Yeah, when you know the rules, you can bend them.
Yeah, well, the aspect is that you only have all the activities in a business or a personal life, the one that is limited is time. You can't create more time. So if you have limited time, and that's the most limited resource, how do you get the best return, and how do you leverage it? And you get the best return.
One of the things, you look at the things that take the most time, the daily doldrums, let's say, that are in the business, and you look at ways to eliminate those. For instance, how banks did it, right?
Right.
They provided ATMs.
That's correct. So therefore, they reduce some teller time. You didn't have to stand in line for tellers like you used to. I was on a bank board for many years, and before they had ATM machines, you could walk in the bank on a Friday afternoon, and the line was out the door because people were bringing their paychecks in for deposit.
Out of sight, man.
Yeah, it was exciting. You see all these people, wow, and now you walk in and there's hardly anyone there. It's safer. I mean, those cannonballs We'll miss you
So
for
that
sure
would
now.
say the 20% of the bank's business is not really customer centric, is it?
Well, that changes the definition.
For
of
the
it.
80%,
Well, that 80% rule of efficiency that you brought up basically now changes the relationship aspect, because before the banks had, the tellers were a great relationship builder. When you went, a lot of people, my father used to go to the bank, he used to enjoy talking to certain tellers or working with certain tellers. So now when this technology changes the environment, all of a sudden you now have to say, okay, how do I leverage up on this? What is my new 20%? How do I create that customer relationship? Sometimes these things
you got to answer the phones.
You got to answer. Well, that's one aspect. I have a fellow in one of my groups. Now this
Don't
fellow,
put a bunch of recorded messages together and expect people to punch their way through them.
Yeah. Well, this was kind of interesting. I had a fellow in one of my groups who was a tree trimmer, and I'm expecting the fellow coming to the meeting in his blue jeans and having a truck in the backyard. So I asked him, I said, how many employees do you have? He said, I have about 200. And I was overwhelmed because of a tree trimmer having 200. So I asked him, how did you get so big? How are you so successful? And he said, we answer the phone.
Right.
So he created that relationship. But the aspect is, a lot of people might think that's an inefficiency. But basically, if answering the phone gives you that 20% or gives you that differential to create that result, that's something that you can do.
And one of the things you need to do, the phone help actually has to be good help. So another one of the steps in the 80-20 process is...
Before you get to that one, I was going to say, see, when you answer the phone, when the phone rings, and make your cash register ring. I just want to get that little one in.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, now you can go to the next step.
Okay, so and that's hire great individuals. Now, there's some mixed feelings, mixed emotions, mixed ideas about this. There's critical points according to Pareto and Juan, right, or Geron.
Boy, you can't get that out straight. I mean, you got Cliff Notes in front of you, and you really can't find it. Wow.
Yeah, I got. Well, you should see this.
Well, there are
notes all over the place.
Well, some people
I'm
think,
organized.
Okay.
I know where everything's at.
Okay, well, some people think that's good.
So there's critical points in hiring talented people, and some of those I'm not quite sure about, but I'm going to go through them anyway. So first, hire young talent, the least expensive kind, with the capacity to generate wealth quickly.
Well, what does that mean, to generate wealth quickly?
Well, it means you can train them in your culture and turn them loose.
Okay, so I would interpret that meaning that they have the understanding to, first of all, they have the virtues of your business. They have the culture. They buy into the culture, but also
they're acculturated.
They're enculturated, but also they have the skill set to be able to catch on quickly, learn quickly, and be a high performer. Now, but that's a hard thing to do. But people should hire for capability.
Right.
Okay.
And whenever possible, hire brilliant people for moderate pay.
Oh, that's right.
Most folks, they don't realize just how valuable they are. So you can usually get them pretty cheap.
Well, okay.
Some do. If they've got a tenure in the marketplace, they know what their value is. But if you're hiring young people that are brilliant and don't know any better, then you can pick them up fairly cheap, right?
Well, the question is, I'm a believer in practical people, sometimes brilliant. Brilliant people sometimes really cannot communicate with others. But some of the best engineers I've had in our companies, what I would call dirty fingernail engineers. This is back in the days of machining and tooling. And these are guys who grew up doing it. And they really knew more than, they didn't know the practical theory. They didn't know the theoretical theories, but they knew the practical results. And they would give you that return because they knew the 20% that you had to work on.
Right. Right. So one of the other things too is that you have a bias toward people who are underconfident rather than overconfident. Now, a lot of those, and like your dirty fingered engineers and whatever, they don't necessarily know. They're not so overconfident that we can do that. They're I don't know, let's find out. And they have that passion for figuring out problems and finding solutions, right?
Right. Well, we're getting into a psychological. I don't fully agree with this particular author you're quoting on some.
I don't either.
But because I think that he uses the term underconfident and overconfident. I like people who are confident, not necessarily over or under, but also I think some people who are underconfident have a low self-esteem, and
Right.
sometimes low self-esteem people many times are not performers.
Well, I think you ought to find great people and pay them what they're worth. But, oftentimes businesses don't necessarily work that way.
Well, there are some theories.
And business owners will take advantage of people.
Well, I'll give you other theories. One person I know that came in, and this was a gal, and she was interviewing with a big Texas technical firm. And when she got done interviewing, they said, "What do you think you're worth? What would really be a wow?" They didn't use what you're worth. What would be a wow for you? And she mentioned a number, and they paid her that number because they were looking for people who wanted wows, who really would step up to the plate and create the wow. So that's a contrary philosophy of underpay.
There's some juxtaposition in the points that even he makes, and one of them is always hire with a view toward raising the talent bar in your organization.
That I agree. You always want to raise the talent bar.
You really do.
All the time.
And you want to step up to the bar. So in 80-20 individuals, if they don't work best all alone on their creative, or sometimes they do work best alone on their creative mountain type, but you've got to bring them back into the workplace to create partnerships, and most of those are best with groups of 2 to 7 people.
And sometimes you need people, but somebody has to recognize what is that 20% you have to work on, whether it be you as the owner or boss, or whether it be you as the team leader. But somebody has to recognize that and put the emphasis in that area. If you're just doing, you really won't get the high leverage you want to get.
Sure, and working with those small groups, those are some of the things that you set as priorities in the development of the groups. And you've got somebody that always keeps track of that. Speaking of keeping track, we've got a break for commercial here for just a moment, and we'll be right back with you. I'm Zen and
Ray.
And we're 2 small biz guys playing your advisorologists today. And
don't forget the worksheets you can get at
practicalbizu.com.
And that's the letter U.
Thanks for listening. We'll be right back with you.
2 Small Biz Guys with Zen and Ray. We'll be back after this.
The digital world is vast. Is it working for you? Would you like some qualified help? Zen Benefiel is a wonder with social media who leads focused and organized workshops on multiple platforms like Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. He leads by example, not theory, and teaches you how to live large and lively on the web. From blogs to SEO, his web presence speaks for itself. Take advantage of his expertise. Visit BeTheDream.com and click on Web Wizardry. Hire him while you can.
Business owners want to call their own shots, make appropriate income, and control their destiny. Our passion is to help you achieve your goals. A Pro Peer Advisory Board is just the thing. It's a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive owners facilitated by a pro who has walked in your shoes. He's your mentor and tormentor, moving you ahead. When you have issues or opportunities keeping you awake, where do you get help? Pro boards give support and non-biased feedback from your peers. To sample a free Pro President's board meeting, email ray@propres.com. There's no commitment or charge. Email ray@propres.com. You're listening to 2 Small Biz Guys. Now, back to your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
All right, welcome back to 2 Small Biz Guys. And today we've been talking about the 80-20, or now we're talking about other aspects of the 80-20.
Boy, you can't get this out straight. We're talking about the 80-20 rule and how you can benefit from it.
Exactly right.
And
so how do you use that inside of your organization? Do you use your current company, in your current company? How do you take advantage of that?
Well, I think one aspect is you get people to come together. Because you mentioned no teams. And you need your people to come together and really talk about, okay, where do we get the best results? What are we doing that doesn't bring us results or doesn't bring us high results? And as you mentioned before, how can we get rid of those activities that we're doing that don't bring us the maximum results?
Now, in a business, you've really got to pay attention to what your people are saying, okay? Because a lot of business owners, they will offer their understanding, but then they take off and they don't necessarily listen to what their people say because they know what's best for their business.
Well, that means, is the business top down or bottom up, or is it kind of a team effort?
Well, in the new millennium, it's becoming more of a team effort. There's this aspect of an incubator within the organization that's always coming up with new things, looking to as to how to grow the business, how to grow the business, how to make the relationships better, how to identify customers better, how to exploit the 80-20 rule, and all of these things are a team effort.
Yeah, the premise, like in a peer advisory group, the premise is that all of us are smarter than one of us.
Absolutely,
And
even
so,
though one of us runs through all of us.
even though one of us may run the empire or run the business, but all of us are smarter than one of us. And if the person on top doesn't listen, that person is not too smart.
Right. When you've got the smart people recognize that the job's the boss. Okay, the business is the boss. You look for the most effective way. I called it jobarchy, which means the job's the boss, and everybody works toward fulfilling its mission, whatever you define that to be. And with companies' missions and visions, then, as we've spoken of before, you learn how to exploit.
Well, I don't want to use the word exploit. I think when you're talking about how you want to implement, how do you want to achieve, exploit kind of has a negative connotation.
Yeah, but you know me, I'm always the eternal optimist. I see the positive in everything.
Oh, okay. So you're the positive guy. But the premise we were talking about is you're the Zen. But the premise we're talking about is that
I guess that's really a misnomer. It's kind of a what is.
Somebody has to take the action to bring people together to really talk about these things. And you have to review it from time to time because that 20% area will change due to technology, due to customers, due to the environment, due to your staff that you bring on board.
Right. And one of the things that you've constantly got to be aware of is, do people in your organization fit? And if they don't, then how can you leverage them? How can you help them to find where they do fit? And, this is part of that new millennial mindset, is if they don't work here, we don't want to just get rid of them. We want to go find places for them, maybe even with our competitors.
Well, sometimes you want to place some of your employees with a competitor, but the aspect of within the organization, can you move a person to where they fit, depends on the size of the organization. But the aspect, again, is you want to define these 20% areas. You want to have your people be enthused with them, because if your people don't buy in and aren't enthused, it becomes very difficult to get them to really pick up the ball and run with it.
But you've also got to be careful with the cycles of success that you have, because you don't want to necessarily use those metrics to think that it's always going to be that way. You've got a first cycle of success, so you're expecting the second cycle to be the same as the first, relatively so, and it's not going to be. Well, you're going to have a zigzag effect. You're going to go up and down and around and several times around the barn before you can get in the front door sometimes.
That's right. But life is a learning experience, so sometimes you sometimes have to get burned a little bit. You don't want to get scorched.
Sure.
But sometimes you have to get burned a little bit for the realization that
things have changed. You got to get burned a little bit to have a great tan.
Oh, okay. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah. All well, we're in Arizona.
Okay, that's true. You got to be very careful that if you don't learn that you got to stay out of the sun from time to time, you can't get scorched.
Yeah, that would be July and August.
Yeah, and September, sometimes. But going back to the benefits are, think about what is the 20%? What is the 20% of your customers or 20% of your products? what people in your organization, those 20% of your people who are really the ones that you want to build with, because those are your stars that really make the major contribution. So you have to think about in all areas of the activity that you can leverage up on the business, get more achievement, and have more satisfaction, and be a happier family.
Right. And what kind of social milieu do you want in your organization? The culture. These are things that can always build upon this 20%. When you've got the right people in the right places, and you can turn them loose. Oh, turn me loose, turn me loose, turn me loose. To do the job.
Would you sing that again?
No.
I thought it was pretty good.
That was some movie thing.
Okay, but having the right people
came out of nowhere.
Okay, but having the right people also goes back to the hiring process.
It was a file dump.
Okay, we didn't really touch on it, but it goes back to the hiring process and having people who fit your culture. Those are the ones you want to really bring into the organization, because if they don't fit, they may be very good people, but there's going to come a time when you're going to go head to head because something comes up. Sure. And it's going to be...
And as a business owner, you've got to know what kind of culture you want to create. Oftentimes you launch into it and you don't really think about that initially.
That's true. But also the other aspect is, from the employee point of view, they also have to test the waters on the culture to make sure it's one that they're comfortable and happy with.
Sure.
So it's a two-way street.
Well, and it's like a bunch of teenagers in a room. They're beating their chest. They're finding their boundaries. They're trying to create, and they'll push and pull in every which direction in order to find.
Is that what millennium people do? I don't know.
Well, I think that's kind of what people do in general. I don't care how old we are or how young we are. I think that's a general human behavior in any organization, group, function towards, meeting a goal. Okay, whenever you bring people together, you're going to have those kinds of things happen.
Okay, so what you're also saying is that when you do meet the goal, because you use the word goal, there should be some type of celebration.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people forget about the celebration aspect. The celebration could be just say, good job, or the celebration could be something bigger.
I've done partnering workshops for building road and bridge construction, multi-million-dollar things, and a lot of the success celebration that the general contractors will do, they'll have barbecues. At the end of the week or end of the month, they'll have a big barbecue and a big party, and not necessarily a huge party, but.
So how did you feel about that when they had these barbecues?
Well, the workers, they really appreciate that kind. It's like a special treatment. It's above and beyond.
And do the bosses serve at the barbecue? Because generally you find when companies will have a picnic or a barbecue, you find that if the bosses serve, it creates a greater type of energy and enjoyment for the whole event, and it's a greater celebration.
Yeah, the bosses are manning the grill. They're up there doing the work.
So we got to sing Celebration. I'm not going to sing this, but you can sing the song. You're the musician.
By who?
I don't know by who. Yeah, that's a musical group.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we were talking the other day about the chelation and removing heavy metals, and you said that the only heavy metal you know is music.
Now I heard an owl in the backyard last night going hoo hoo hoo. So we have all these trivial topics.
All right. Well, speaking of who we are, we're the Advisorologists with two small biz guys. We've hopefully delighted and excited you and maybe made your head spin a little bit with some great questions and considerations for your own business. And, if you'd like to be on the show at some point, definitely reach out. Go to our website, twosmallbizguys.com, and you'll see some information there. There's also plenty of things you can download from practicalbizu.com. And we're here to help and talk and celebrate and
have a good time and give out information and content
and help you grow your business.
Thank you for listening to Two Small Biz Guys with Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein. You can hear Two Small Biz Guys live every Wednesday at noon or catch their show on demand anytime 24/7 right here on StarWorldWideNetworks.com.